right, boys and girls, today you're going to do four homework problems for 2.1, finding parts of parts. This is what I would give my students after a lesson. They do a lesson and the same night they have a couple of problems. For 2.1, there are 4 assigned problems. Number 1, number 2, number 28 and 29. Those are only 4 problems, but each problem has, like, as you can see there, 2 or 3 more problems under it. So it's actually, the problem has a scenario and a couple of problems to answer. So we're going to do that today. Just 4 problems. I hope it's a short lesson. So take a couple of papers out and set them up for 2.1, finding parts of parts. You can pause here, copy this down, or you can always wait to see how much room you need before you go on to the next one. So pause here. Okay, the first problem is number 1. A pan of brownies is 7/10 full. Tyrese buys 2/5 of the brownies. Draw a picture of how the brownie pan looks like before and after Tyrese buys his brownies. Let's do that one first. I'm going to put an arrow here so that you can keep track of where I'm reading. It's really important that you know where what problems we're doing, because with distance learning, you kind of take for granted that you don't have the textbook to read. So you're relying on me to give you the information. And of course, sometimes it's too blurry. So we're going to do our best here. You do have to copy down the problem. So here's the scenario. A pan is 7/10 full. Tyrese buys 2/5 of the brownies. And let me put an S there before I get an angry mob messaging me or coming to extended learning to tell me I did a typo. Now it wants us to draw a picture before and after. Before, the step 1 is always what it looks like before, and step 2 is what it looks like after. So we're going to draw this one first. We need to do, this one is 7/10 full. I'm not going to do the problem because I want you to do it. I'm going to just annotate where you can get the information. This one needs to be 7/10 full. This is before. And then after is a combination of the before and after. You need to transfer what it looks like before here, and then you need to shade in the after. So what would that look like? Before is 7/10, and then after is the 7/10, and then 2/5 of the 7/10. So let me give you just a hint. Okay, boys and girls, for homework, I don't give you the entire problem, but I will give you some helpful hints. The before is 7/10. So just like on a number line, I marked all the intervals from 0 to 10. These are 10. I'm going to draw the lines, well, I would draw the lines of 7/10 down. So this is 7/10. I would mark where 7/10 is and then shade that in. That is what the pan of brownies looks like before Tyrese buys 2/5 of the 7/10. After that, I'm going to draw that same before picture, 7/10. I'm going to shade that in, and then I'm going to mark the 2/5 by marking the fifths, and only shading in the 2/5. Here's another hint. So this is 7/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is 7/10. I would shade all of this down here. I would do each of these. I would shade all of that. I would continue with that. So here's 7/10 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7/10. I would draw lines all the way down, 7/10. And then I would draw lines all the way for 2/5. So here's 1 and here's 2/5. Then I would draw the lines there. And then I would shade where the 2/5 is. So I would shade all of that up to the 7/10. And everything that's shaded below the 2/5 And in front of the 7/10 are the pieces of what it would look like after. Okay, so I would shade in or draw these lines 7/10, then 2/5, and then shade the 2/5. That's all I got. That's all I can give you. Good luck. You got this. All right, the next problem. What fraction of the whole pan of brownies does Tyrese buy? All right, boys and girls, for 1B, what fraction of the whole pan of brownies does Tyrese buy? Before I move on, I just want to make sure that you're copying down the problem, the solution, and you're working out the problems. I'm not going to give you the entire answer. I'm just going to give you some pointers. So for 1A, you should have drawn these lines. I'm just giving you pointers. This is not finished. You need to complete these notes. After you complete these notes, you need to answer this question. What fraction of the whole pan of brownies does Tyrese buy? Now, if you remember from our other lesson, when we found out what 3/4 of a half is, we had to count the total pieces of the whole pan, which is the denominator, and then whatever pieces that were purchased is the numerator. So for example, if you want to find the denominator for this answer, you would count all of the equal pieces of this entire pan, all the equal pieces from corner to corner. You would count all of them. That's your denominator. The numerator is all the pieces that are shaded in between 2/5 and 7/10, going by these intervals. That would be your numerator. And whatever your answer is would be equal to 7/10 times 2/5, because that's how you answered it in 4th and 5th grade. And we're combining that knowledge with creating models to represent the relationship of this multiplication. All right, answer that problem. It's just an answer. All you have to do is give me a fraction. What is the fraction? All right, boys and girls, let's move on to problem number 2. 2 has 3 parts, 2A, 2B, and 2C. But I think I only want you to do 2A. So we're not going to do 2B or C. So I'm going to edit that out to reduce your stress level, because I don't want you guys to be stressed the day before a 4-day holiday. Well, at least for my Thursday group. All right, so you're going to draw brownie pan models to show whether or not 2/3 of 3/4 of a pan of brownies is the same amount as 3/4 of 2/3 of brownies. It's a little bit confusing, but if you remember from 4th or 5th grade, when we multiply fractions, we just multiply straight across. So 2 times 3 is 6, and 3 times 4 is 12, 6/12. That's 1/2. Same thing, multiply it. It's the same product, it's the same answer. But we need to draw brownie pans to represent that. So all you're doing is showing how or if 2/3 of 3/4 and 3/4 of 2/3, if they're equal. So I'm going to give you a hint, and you're going to do the shading. Okay, boys and girls, here's my hint. I wrote down the products, or I sorted out which model belongs to which problem. So 2/3 of 3/4 is this model, and 3/4 of 2/3 is this model. I remembered that the last fraction is my step 1. So of 3/4 is my step 1, and of 2/3 is my step 1 for this model. So for this model, I want to find where 3/4 is, because that's what I start off with. So I marked my fourths, and I would draw my lines here and here, and then shade that in. And then my 2/3, I would divide this into thirds and shade the 2/3 in up until the 3/4. You should have empty spaces here, white white boxes there, and these should be colored. For this one, I have 3/4 of 2/3. I messed up over here, so disregard this one. I make mistakes and I'm proud of it because they're learning opportunities. So I start with 2/3. So I marked my 2/3. I'm going to draw my lines for 2/3, shade that in up to 2/3, and then I'm going to mark my 3/4. So here's 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. I'm going to mark my lines and shade that in to up to the 2/3 line. You should have blank spaces here and here. So after you're done, are they the same? The only thing you have to do is draw the brownie pan and show whether or not 2/3 of 3/4 is the same or not the same than 3/4 and 2/3. There's nothing else to do. The next problem is number 28. Okay, boys and girls, here's number 28. I did a mistake there, so I crossed this out. This is nothing. Here's 28, and it's the same as what I highlighted here with the arrow. Bianca and Yoko work together to mow the lawn. Suppose Yoko mows 5/12 of the lawn and Bianca mows 2/5 of the lawn. Show how much lawn needs to be mowed. Show how much lawn still needs to be mowed. But how would you answer that? Let me give you a hint. Since this one doesn't require you to draw a model, all you have to do is think about the problem. You have one lawn. You have 5/12 and 2/5 to work with. How would you create a number sentence to solve that problem? I know that 1 represents what you start with. Yoko mows 5/12 of that. And then at another time, Bianca mows 2/5. So together, this is what the girls mow. Would you add, subtract, multiply, or divide these two fractions if this is the fraction that each girl mowed? And this is what needs to be mowed, 1 whole. What would you do to these 3 numbers to find out how much still needs to be mowed? Still needs. Is that add, subtract, multiply, or divide? I'm going to give you a hint. You have to use these symbols, that symbol, and that symbol. And this is a fraction. There's a fraction there. That's your hint. All right, let's go to the next one. Number 29. All right, our last problem. Again, it's not asking you to draw a picture. It's just asking you to find out how many more bushels need to be picked. I didn't know what bushels were, so I found a picture and that's what it looks like. It's just a a basket of apples, a bushel. So if Joe and Ashanti need this much, 2 and 2/5, that's how much they need to make applesauce. But Joe picks 1 5/6. So did Joe pick enough or did Joe pick too much? This is picked. How many more bushels do they need to make 2 and 2/5? So they need this, they have this. What do they need to do with this to find out how much more they need? You have to pick which symbol goes there. Which one do you think? It's one of these. Pick it, plug it, answer it. You're done. After you're finished, boys and girls, take a break. The MyPath log is up and you can fill it out. You do have until tomorrow, so don't turn it in yet. Do some iReady for math when you're finished. If you're all caught up, I'm sure there's something you could do. Read. All right, have a good day.